And here we are, the video marathon of building arrows for the yet unnamed SWAT X1 continues. Not even done with my iced coffee, and we've already managed to talk about arrow weight and talk about all kinds of topics related to them and introduce you to a variety of cool arrows that I've been using here in the kingdom of Bunjie and abroad. And in another video, we managed to cut this one down and make it so it's not as long as its dragon claw counterparts. In fact, it's about an inch shorter. I'd say it's about an inch shorter than the fletched dragon claws, but now it's naked. It doesn't have any veins on it, and it needs veins, and it needs these veins from Black Eagle. To do that, we pull out, kaboom, this guy right here. There's all kinds of parts. I have glue, boom, goat tough glue. Not just any glue, but goat tough glue. It's not just tough, it's goat tough. Here it is. Need this so we can put it on here and put our, tighten it down and put our arrows to good use. Now these, there's a variety of these things you can get, okay? This, I think it's not an Arizona Easy Fletch. No, used to tell people it was, but it's not. It's an Easton. There it is. It's an Easton Easy Fletch, or whatever, fletching tool. And it's pretty cool, right? And it just basically, these little things fold out like a space alien, and you put your arrow shaft in there, and make sure, then you put it in there, and it automatically makes the right depth. You can get real picky with this. Some people like their vein, and some crossbow manufacturers set up their arrows a little bit differently. So you got to take that into account. So listen up. Sometimes some of these crossbow arrows want their veins clear back, and some of them want a lot of gap, want them clear up here, right? You got to pay attention to that. I have never gotten that picky. If we look on here, okay, this is a Black Eagle Executioner, a dragon claw arrow from Wyvern Creations. You can check out our friends at Wyvern Creations. And if you look here, we'll point with a Swhacker practice point. How's that? We're gonna point with this. But if you look right here, there's a gap between here and here. The vein doesn't start until up here. So if I actually go and close this dude up, it is perfect for these veins. So it is set up perfectly. And these, I know from experience, shoot very, very well out of the SWAT X1s. So I don't have any problem with that, right? These are about 500 grains all dressed up. Loved them. I've spine indexed them. Doesn't seem to make much difference in the SWAT X1. The spine indexing doesn't, but every crossbow will benefit from spine indexing. But the SWAT X1 has that enclosed barrel, so it sort of accommodates just about any arrow setup, seems to anyway. But so when I do this and put these new veins on here, it will be set up to the right depth in terms of the distance from the end of the shaft to the vein will be set up perfectly. Now the other thing I need to take into account is I have spine indexed these. I've got my little dot on here, right, with a marker. So I know that my red vein wants to be where that dot is. And then the other ones will fall in place. Now, if we can get this off of here without killing ourselves with the staples, we're just going to throw those away. And then we're going to take this one off. Kaboom, kaboom. Get those staples out of there. We'll throw that away too. Kaboom. And now we got these. So what we're going to do this, you got one that's off color. I want to show you one other thing first before we move on and start doing this. But there are other arms. You can take these arms out and buy these other arms and put them in here, these short ones. But these will give you a helical design, have a much greater offset. A helical design, like a helix, a double helix where they cross like that. What that is, it's really just a greater offset. It's not a twisted, if you look at it, it's very obviously, it's not all that special. It's just a great offset, right? It's not a 1 degree offset like these are, where the veins are just sort of offset a little bit, right? Just a little bit, like 1 degree. This is offset like this. And by the time you apply it to a round shaft, it makes it have a twisted appearance to it, but it's a really, really great offset. It's a good choice for maybe Genevieve's arrows, because when I'm done with these SWAT X1 arrows, I'm going to build a set for Genevieve as well that are more Excalibur friendly, okay? And those might have helicals on them. You're going to have to wait and see. That's an upcoming video. Pretty exciting, isn't it? This is pretty exciting stuff. Helical design on them will help stabilize those arrows faster. With the SWAT X1, I don't care about arrow stabilization. That's not a crucial thing for me because the SWAT X1 has that enclosed barrel, and that enclosed barrel basically does a better job of stabilizing the arrow than even the veins do. It comes out of there pretty stable, comes out of there pretty straight. Doesn't have to recorrect and figure out how to fly straight. It already knows because it's sent straight down here to begin with. These poor arms are full of glue. Oh, it's terrible. I'm going to have to clean them out. That's no good. Put our little white veins in there. The white veins go on the orange arms, and the red vein will be our cock vein, and that will go where the white arm is, because that's the odd one. So that'll work perfect. And what I do, the next step, if this glue is not dried out and I have more glue, if it is, I've had this a long time, been doing a lot of arrows with this guy. You don't want to put too much on, but you want to put enough on here that it doesn't become a problem, right? So there. And we're getting it. It's working. It's going to work. Delicate stuff like this is not my area of expertise. But boy, I love doing it. I love the end result. So we're just going to put a nice sheen. Put a nice sheen on there. You don't want too much. We're not going to glob it on.
Ooh, yeah, that's the stuff. Men love it when you really glob it on.
I love that. Line our white dot up with the white vein, the white arm. And that way, I didn't give myself a lot of room for that, did I? But that way, it will be a spine indexed arrow as to the red vein. And then we put that on there, and that's it. That's all you're going to do. And that looks, and we look at it and marvel at it. But we set it aside for 5-10 minutes or so and come back to it. That's the slow process of doing arrows, is that you do them one at a time like that. What I like to do with this, well, I'll tell you. Right, I tap it a little bit. Let's get that glue to go back down this shaft, back down the needle here or whatever, back into the reservoir. We'll do that, get it back in the bottle, and then we'll breathe the air out of it, right? Pump it a little bit to get the air to go up that tank. And once all that's out of there, then you put this on here, and then I have it taped. The container is taped in here so it sits straight up and down, right in here. And it sits in here straight up and down. Right there's the little package that it came in, and it's taped to the box, so it has to stay straight up and down. And that means it stays in place. Now, I've got some backup if I need it, but otherwise, some of those glue containers become what we like to call single use. So I don't like that. This will be pretty cool though. If this works, and we're going to let this really seal up because we're going to be shooting it pretty soon, within a matter of minutes in the backyard. So I want this to sit and rest a little bit, okay, and dry thoroughly. And then I'll pop it out of there, and we'll still let it dry just to make sure that they're on there good so that they can fly. And then probably what I'll do, take a little bit of that glue, dab a little bit on the end, the forward end, a little bit on there, so that it'll, like right here, dab a little bit more glue right here and sort of work it in around there just to make sure that that dries and further protects the front end of that vein. If in case it does come in contact with a target or with a deer or a bear's body down the road, it'll help that vein stay in place a little bit, right? Maybe it'll help a little bit, maybe not, I don't know. And if it doesn't, I just peel it off, put another vein on here and glue it on here. I've even reused veins. I found veins after I shot a deer, found the vein, and then printed it, took that vein and glued it back on, cleaned it up a little bit. The cat is giving me fits here. What do you want? Poor little cat. Here's 2 dragon claw arrows, but you can tell the difference between the original size veins, the Black Eagle veins, and the new ones that I put on. These are a size smaller, like 2 3/4 inch. These are 3 inch, I think, or something like that, or 2.5 inch or something. I don't know. We can measure them and find out. But nonetheless, same color scheme, same type of vein, the shield type veins, and these flew phenomenally out of the SWAT X1. But I don't think the SWAT X1 needs all of this stabilization. I think it will be happy with that amount of stabilization provided by a smaller vein because of the barrel, the enclosed barrel. It doesn't need as much help from the veins to sort of do the, to sort of make it stabilize and flight and all that good stuff. So we're going to find out if that is true. And I'm going to shoot one of these and I'm going to shoot one of these. And we're going to compare them at 50 yards with 3 shots each, along with some other arrows. Get a bunch of shots in today and then measure the shots. You can see my little mark where it's spine indexed though. So I did preserve the spine indexing on that one. On these other ones, like there's the spine indexing. So technically, these were not spine indexed arrows. That cock vein, that red vein, actually should be here, if that makes any sense. But you can just shoot it as though this one, if I marked it with this little dot and put it in there, adjust the knock properly, and then put it in there with this dot. It's the same thing as spine indexing, but it just doesn't have the color coding. What are you doing? Are you really, do you think I need help? What do you think? What do you think? You think I need help? Killer Instinct HYPR-V crossbow bolts, lighted Nocks, pre-installed. These are what they look like, these bad boys. They've got a real nice finish on them. Just a straight shaft, shield style vanes. They're not they're Killer Instinct branded, but I do believe they're just a regular, very similar to our Black Eagle vanes that we're using today in the backyard, right? The Black Eagle vanes. And they got this little rubber thing on here. I can pull that out. That's sort of a thing to protect it, I guess. But it looks like they got the bobber lights. What's different about these, I am a fan of the Burt Coyote Luminoc. Talked about this multiple times. The Burt Coyote Luminoc, this is the GTC from Burt Coyote. I like it. And now I have a cat that's going to help me. Boy, you just need attention. Man. Oh, she hears Genevieve, so she's going to the door. But Genevieve loves her. She's a good cat. Anyway, these Nocks, there's your Burt Coyote Luminoc. 15% off, luminoc.com with coupon code BUNJIE. But that's a GTC, works great out of these SWAT X1s. What I think they're trying to accomplish here, if you look, see how it's a GTC style knock, I get that, capture style knock, whatever you want to call it, but it does have another groove there. Do you see that other groove? It has like it's sort of hollowed out a little bit to allow that string to wrap around it even more so it will accommodate that string. You should have less string wear with Nocks like this. I'm very curious about this because if these shoot real good and if I like the brightness and all that good stuff, I might buy a bunch of these and just outfit them with different, but they do have a bushing in here, so I don't know what's going on with that. I might not be able to slide another insert down here and make these a little bit heavier, so I don't know. Maybe I don't like that. I don't know. We're going to find out. Let's play around with them. So first thing you do, I guess, you work this little rubber band up off of there, and that just comes off and goes like that. And now we have a gap on this knock. Do you see what I'm talking about? There's a little bit of a gap there. Hard to do it with one hand, even harder with a cap. You push down on it and it turns on. You pull back up on it, it turns off. This is all one thing though, so I can't get down in here and put more inserts in it. And we're going to weigh this and see if it's heavy enough. I don't know if this arrow is heavy enough up to my standards. So the cat has taken over my workbench. Now that you've wrecked the place, okay, let's go back here, tear that. We're going to put our arrow on one here. So our hyper bolt, it's very hyper, see? That one, 20-inch arrow that has no broadhead in it, or field point. We're at, what are we saying there, 291.8. That's not a bad weight for an arrow. That's pretty standard. If we put a 100 grainer on there, or close to 400, like 390, that's pretty consistent with what Killer Instinct gives us. But if we take a 150 grainer out of there, okay, and we go back over here, 441.7. So a 440 grain arrow out of a modern crossbow is a totally appropriate weight. You can just put these in there and shoot it. I don't need to be building arrows, I guess. But I want to, man, how cool is this though? They look nice and bright, but it turns on like that, but then it just, can't do it one-handed but it snaps right off. Oh, it's so great. And then what you can do, see, when you're done with it, when you're storing them, you can just put your little rubber thing back in here. Just feed that back in here so it won't turn on by accident. Put it back in that little groove right there, and it won't turn on by accident. Now, I don't know if you can take these apart and replace the batteries or put in a brighter light or what have you. I don't know. But so far, these are pretty cool. Got to tell you, we're going to see how they fly. The 60-yard backyard. Finally, we are back in the 60-yard backyard with crossbows for crossbow fun. I have the yet unnamed SWAT X1. Check out the grips on this bad boy. That's pretty intimidating, isn't it? Even Jimi Hendrix likes that one. Even Jimi Hendrix likes those. So what we're going to do, we are going to take this crossbow and we are going to shoot it here in the 60-yard backyard, and we are going to shake the cobwebs off of it and all the cat hair and everything else. It's been sitting there collecting dust all winter long. It's terrible, terrible. It just wants to be out here in the backyard shooting, and it finally gets its chance. I have a selection of arrows, 5 arrows to be exact. I have my rope cocker, okay? Rope cocker here for the SWAT X1. I like that. And I'm going to shoot it off of the Bog Death Grip. And if you're interested in Death by Bunjie gear, look at Death by Bunjie gear page. It includes targets, right? Our two different targets we got out there. We got the Bulldog, and we got another high-end target out there. I don't even remember the name of it. Don't even remember. It's crazy, because it was so long ago that I bought it. It was all last summer. And we have been holed up all winter. Today, I think it's April 19th, Saturday, April 19th, right? It's a little windy, a little breezy, and we got a nice amount of breeze here. Since you were here last, I'm going to turn you around so you can see what's going on out there. First of all, let's zoom in and get a real good look. Kaboom at our targets. That is a kinetic, is what it says on here. And that's your two targets that we're shooting at. Those are both bag targets. We'll accept field points only. Now, what you notice out here is all these trees over here are gone. There were two little trees down here, and there was a big giant ash tree down there that was dead, that was falling in pieces and all that stuff. I didn't even feel comfortable mowing under it, but I have gone through and gotten rid of that. This other debris you see here is all going to be put to good use. That is where some new apple trees are going. I'm getting rid of those. I got rid of those little scrubby trees that were down there that were struggling anyway. I'm going to be putting a shed over here where I can keep all my targets outside, all my bag targets, all my carts with targets on them, and my decoys, stuff like that. All that stuff, lawnmower, all that stuff will be going in a shed there to free up some space in the basement and the garage. And then over here, kaboom, more apple trees. We got two new guys here. That's the Red Fuji, and that is a Gold Rush. We got a lot of apples that we bought, and we're going to put 3 more here, so we'll have a whole bunch of apples. We have a cherry. We have a peach. We have planted all kinds of trees here. We're putting down roots. But the 60-yard backyard does look a little different. I'm going to have to establish something down here to put my wind sock on so we can tell when the wind is blowing, when it is not. Now, when we talk about arrows, okay, we talk about arrows, and we talk about arrows a lot. This looks really bad, but man, it's a lot better than it was. There was junk all over the place. I have really cleaned this place up. I had a guy come and haul an entire load away, but here's my arrows that we're going to be using. We'll start over here on this end, right? There's the boat. There's my $200 Facebook boat, the crappy assassin. That's funny. Anyway, we have 5 arrows, okay? That friend of Bunjie arrow right there, as you see it, 508 grains right there with the Q2I veins, okay? This is the AJ arrow, which weighs 480.7 grains total arrow weight. They all have 150 grainers on them installed. This selection of arrows, we're going to see if I can get this around here so we can look at them. You just got to look at it. We got a Dragon Claw, the original Dragon Claw right here, weighing in at, that's a 20-incher at 499.8. And this is a Dragon Claw. They have different veins. Remember, these are lighter veins because they're smaller. And this one, total arrow weight, 19 inches, Dragon Claw, 484.7 grains. Our last arrow for today is a Killer Instinct Hyper Bolt. Hyper 20-inch bolt. And this is the lighted knock on here. Right here. Lighted knock. I like those lighted knocks so far, but we're going to see how they fly. And that dude weighs 442.7. So this is the lightest arrow that we have. Our friend of Bunjie arrow over there, I don't know about that color scheme. I don't know about that, but anyway, it stands out. This is our heaviest arrow at 508.4 grains. Okay, and this is what's going to be tough, is I'm going to be shooting at that target, at those targets. And it's not going to be tough, because what's going to happen is I'm going to shoot each arrow 3 times. That's my plan. That's 15 shots today. That's good enough to give me some data as to how they fly. This breeze, if I had my thing out there, you would feel this breeze. It was a little rough when I was weighing them, because I was weighing them right here on this railing. The vanes, the arrow was catching it. The wind was catching it, and they were trying to move on me, right? So it was a little bit hard. I had to wait for the wind to stop. That tells me, and some of them moved a lot more than others, okay? Especially, I think the biggest one was actually the Black Eagle. That one would not stand still, and that's a heavy arrow. It's a 500 grainer. It's one of the heavier arrows. But with these vanes on here, 3 inches long, and the fact that they're pretty high, this just caught a lot of air, and it wouldn't stay on the scales. It wanted to do this on the scales all the time. And that's nothing. It's not a big deal. You wait for it to stop, measure, weigh it, no problem. But the problem is, once it starts going down there, even at 20 yards, that might affect accuracy. But we're going to find out. That's a real-world test, and that's what Death by Bunjie is all about. I'm really selecting the proper arrow setup for the SWAT X1 for the Manitoba trip. And what I want to do, I want to make sure this thing is on first. So I'm going to shoot it at 20 yards, and I'm going to shoot it with AJ's arrow at 20 yards. And I'm going to make some slight adjustments to the scope if need be. But I am going to Then move the targets down to like 40 yards. Make sure I'm still in the ballpark, and then I will feel comfortable shooting at that distance. I don't want to be losing these arrows, right? Can't run a test if you lose the arrows. You got to be able to shoot each one 3 times, at least get a feel for it. But these arrows all weigh different. They're all designed differently. They're all going to fly, no matter what we do. They're all going to fly differently. So they aren't going to all hit the bullseye. That's not the goal here. The goal is to see, do they, if they're wherever they hit, I will mark it down, and are they off by the same amount every time? That's all that matters, because any of these 5 arrows, I believe, I can probably get a dozen of them around and sight all of them in to shoot the same. What I can't do is make all 5 of these fly the same. That's not going to happen, because they're 5 totally separate, different arrows from different setups, right? They're not supposed to fly the same. But what I want to see by the end of this is if which one of them is the most consistent, right? That's really what we're looking for. Then we can sight in for that arrow, get a dozen of those, sight in for that arrow, and see where we're at. And if they're all kind of in the same ballpark, it doesn't really matter. If the big thing I want to know is if my shortened up dragon claw is going to be pretty close, right? Is that in the mix? Is that a realistically good arrow setup? And then I'll make a dozen of those and see where we go from there. Not bad for my first shot. For a guy that's rusty, hasn't shot since whenever. That's an AJ custom arrow. That's pretty much what this crossbow is sighted in for. So what I'm going to do, I am just going to leave it as is. I'm not going to make any adjustments, but I feel comfortable moving the target back out, especially given that I think we're going to get some storm coming our way. If you look over there on the horizon out there past that hackberry tree, those clouds are moving our way. I'm going to need to be mobile and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is go pull that arrow. I'm going to move the targets down to 40 yards, shoot as many arrows as I can, and see how we make out. And here we go to take a look at what we got for result. And this is pretty consistent across the board with every shot that I took. I'm just going to get down here and explain what I'm talking about. So this is about a 500 grainer dragon claw. This is about 508, okay? And this is a very nice arrow. I got to tell you, when I shot it, the tunk, very nice sound to it. I like it. Don't think I would use this knock. I'm not going to switch, but I'm very impressed with it. I love the sound of it. The sound matters, right? You get a similar sound with the weight of the 500 grainer dragon claw, and you get even with my 480 here. Now, this is about the same weight as the AJ's custom arrow, so I stopped shooting it because as you can see, it's shooting exactly where the other one was. Like I've flipped the targets around. This was this way, okay? I had to turn the card around when I brought it down here, but so you can't see the same holes. I've been shooting at different holes, but I can tell you at each distance that I shot at, this is shooting this guy here. I'm just gonna pull it out here. This is my bulldog target. Gotta love it. deathbybunjie.com gear page, check it out. The dragon claw, this is the one I made, right? Veins are holding up nicely, they're shooting just fine. The knock playing nice, it's lighting up. Needs a new battery probably, but it's lighting up. Everybody's happy with that. There's no real problem there, I think we got getting our money's worth out of the Burt Coyote Luminox. But this is shooting the same as the AJ's custom arrow, okay? That's my point. And it's shooting so close every time that I just decided to stop shooting the AJs, because I already know the AJ's custom arrows shoot beautifully, right? Question was whether this is going to shoot beautifully, and we now know that it in fact does. The Death by Bunjie arrow is shooting beautifully. Now I'm confident I can do this. Very happy with it. This is the, let's see if we can get her out of there, and I bet we can. It's the Hyper Bolt, right? The HYPR-V. This is the lighted knock from Killer Instinct. Shoots great, but man, a different sound. This is a 442 grain arrow or whatever it was, and it's a different sound. I like the sound of this 508. I like the sound of this 500, even like the sound of this 480. But when we get down to about 440, it's a higher pitched sound, and I'm less of a fan. That's just me.